Well, today I'm just going to do a quick overview and first impressions on my new Fox rig. Anyone that follows me on Facebook and Instagram will have probably already seen it, and there's been a lot of questions, so that's why I thought I would just make a video trying to address a few of those questions and just give my first opinions and impressions of it. So the rifle is a Tikka T3X adjustable. It's in 223 rem. And I've got a Picatinny rail and the Pulsar Trail XP50 on top. I got all this through H&S Firearms, and I was very lucky. They told me at the start that it was probably going to be about a 6-week wait. Pulsar had a lot of back orders and ended up they got it to me within a week. So very fortunate there. So big shout out to them and thanks for looking after me. But basically what I've got here is a list of pros and cons. And I just want to run through that list, and I'm just going to probably look down every now and again to jog my memory, but the sole reason I bought this was my parents run sheep on their farm, and they had a lot of issues this year with light shy foxes. So I was out quite a lot, regularly spotlighting, shot quite a few foxes, but they were still having issues with lambs being taken. And anyone that farms sheep knows that, you start losing 10, 15 lambs a season or more, it's starting to become pretty expensive. So it frustrated me to the point where I messaged the guys at H&S and was like, hey, what can we do about these foxes? And this is what I ended up with. So onto the pros. The biggest pro about this setup, especially the thermal, is for spotlight shy foxes. It's basically enabled me to shoot, I've shot 3 foxes with it so far, and all of them I don't think I would have got with a spotlight. They're, in a few areas where you're either going to be really close and the spotlight's just too bright, or, they've been shot at before. So that's definitely been a very big positive. And funnily enough, I have missed a couple of foxes with it. I'm not going to lie about that. And they stop and look back because they don't know what's happened, and you get another shot at them, put them down. So that's a big advantage with a setup like this, whereas with a spotlight, getting a second shot at a fox is next to impossible. So big advantage with a setup like this. The second pro is the detection range. It's got a detection range of 1800 meters, and I'm not going to go over all the specs, but I will say that I have picked up foxes and even rabbits out to about 400 meters, which is incredible just in complete darkness. It will pick them up further, but then once they're out further than that, it's really hard to tell what they are. So you sort of need to get in closer to have a good look and identify what you're shooting. But it's got an amazing detection range, and it saves a lot of time scanning. With a spotlight, you're only focusing where the light's hitting. But with this, you can literally scan around and just see everything, and there's basically no hiding from it. If something's out of the blackberries or foxes, out of its den, you're going to pick it up with this, and then you can get in closer and sort of identify it. The third pro, funnily enough, is mobility. This keeps you mobile. So there's been quite a few times already with this where I've spotted something, wasn't quite sure, or I thought it might have been too far away, and all I did was look through this and walk in closer, get within range and shoot it. That fox in the last video, the very first fox that I shot, first scene, that was, I think I spotted that at about 600 meters, and I walked in, I think I shot it at about 60 meters. So it gives you an idea of how much mobility you have with a setup like this, opposed to a spotlight where you're limited to being either stuck at the car, or you've got a handheld one which you've got to have mounted, or a torch mount to your gun. Just definitely doesn't give you the freedom that this does. Next pro is Wi-Fi compatible, so you can run this set up to an iPad or a tablet set up in your car. You can run it to your phone, which is what we've been doing, and if you've got a few mates with you, it's actually quite entertaining just watching the phone screen. You can see live what's happening through the scope. So you've got your shooter, and your mates can still see what's happening. And you can also use them like a spotter. If you miss your rabbit or miss your fox or whatever, they might spot the hit, because the hit creates a hot spot, and they can say, oh, you've hit to the left, so you can adjust for that if it's windy or anything like that. So it's another big positive. Another positive is the inbuilt video feature, which you guys have probably already seen, but I think that's really, it's really cool, and that was a big reason I decided to just go top of the line with this model, was mainly because of the bigger sensor and the video feature. I do obviously make quite a fair few videos for YouTube, and I wanted to be able to capture the thermal videos. So when I'm out trying to chase these foxes and that, if I'm spotlighting, there's no way I'm lugging a camera around. I'm out there, to try get a quick shot away at maybe a spotlight shy fox. But with this, can just hit record button and video the shot. Another positive, the charging. It's over this side. It's a micro USB, which I use Samsung phones, the S7, which is micro USB as well. So it's very easy to charge. You can charge the battery in the scope, you can take the battery out, put it on its own dock, you can swap batteries out if you get multiple batteries. But probably the biggest thing I like is when you're actually using the thermal out of your car or whatever it may be, you can have a battery pack strapped to the side of it charging it, or you can have it plugged into like your cigarette lighter in your car and charge it while you're still using it. So that's a big positive. The other night, Alana and I were out and we shot a fox, and I had this on the car charger the whole night while I was using it. So that was pretty awesome being able to do that, and I didn't have to worry about the battery dying or anything like that. Now, on to negatives. Well, not negatives, but cons. I think I've covered all the positives, but I'll probably edit the video up and realise that I forgot something, but we'll go on to the cons anyway. The cons that I've got down, the very first one is the distance is extremely hard to estimate. It's because it picks up heat from so far away, it makes it really difficult to work out how far away you're shooting. So things can look closer than what they actually are, or they can look, further than what they actually are. So that's probably the biggest issue we've had. They do actually make a rangefinder model, but I don't believe it's with the big sensor. Otherwise I possibly would have gone that route. But even so, probably the easiest way that I'm working out the range at the moment, apart from there is a little, it's like 2 lines which gives you a guideline of how far away different sized animals are. Apart from that, I'm basically looking through the scope, focusing it, and if it still looks a little bit blurry, it's not looking real sharp and crystal, chances are it's further than what I think it is. Anything under about 200 meters, when you focus it, it's pretty sharp. It looks pretty damn good, and you get a clear image of the thing that you're shooting at. You get good identification of it. Past 200 meters, things start becoming a bit more blurry. So that's basically what I'm using as my range estimating tool at the moment. But that is definitely a con, is you don't exactly know how far away the things are that you're shooting. Identification's the next one I have on the cons, and same thing as what I was just saying. Once things start getting out a little bit further, you can, you can't really tell what it is. You can tell that it's either big or small, but without seeing textures or anything like that of the animal, sometimes makes it hard. Foxes are not too bad because you see their big bushy tail and that's still holding heat, and the way they move, they just move like a fox. Like in that footage of the video the other day that I put up, there was a fox moving in between the sheep, and I watched it for quite a while and I could easily tell it was a fox, and that was probably at 200-300 meters. So it's just one of those things I think that I'll get better with more use, but definitely something to keep in mind if you're looking to go this way. The next con that I've got written down is that you feel detached. It is literally a culling tool. There's no kind way to put it. When you're looking through this, you're literally shooting at an object. It doesn't even feel like you're shooting at an animal until you go and collect it for dog meat or whatever, like the rabbits we're using for dog meat. And that's something that hit me by surprise a little bit. I didn't even think that would have even been an issue for me, and I hadn't heard anyone mention that previously. So when I first got it and started using it, I learnt pretty quickly that It is purely just a culling tool, and you don't like, it sounds silly, but as a hunter you always feel something when you shoot an animal, whether it's a little bit of remorse or whatever. But through this, until you go and pick it up, you basically feel like you're playing a video game. And the couple of, like, my brother and a mate used it the other night with me, and they basically said the same thing, that you are shooting at an object. So I would advise anyone that's looking to go this way to make sure you are prepared for that. I guess it's it's a weird feeling just shooting it. It's almost like your target shooting, but there is a living animal at the end of it, so you've still got to keep that in mind. Okay, next con, the price. It's a very, very expensive setup right here. It's the most expensive rifle I have in the safe with this scope on it. The rifle's not that expensive, but the scope certainly is. You're basically looking at a bit over $7 grand for a scope like this. So it's a big thing to spend a lot of money on, but the way I saw it was a few sheep, a few lambs, they start adding up. So if I can tip over quite a few foxes, save some lambs, that's going to start paying itself off pretty quickly. Without private property access, there's no way I would have bought it. Not a chance in the world. This is, as I said, it's a culling tool for farmers and for private properties. And it's a very effective tool, but it is expensive, so keep that in mind. The next con I've got on the list is it can trip your eyes out. So after prolonged use, when you're looking through it, you've got this bright screen just illuminating your eye. So your left eye, I generally keep both eyes open. Your left eye's, if you're right-handed that is, your left eye's still got quite a good bit of night vision. But your right eye, when you take your eye away from the scope, it's very poor because it's looking through this bright screen. It's not a big con, but it's definitely something worth mentioning. I've actually been swapping eyes from the vehicle if I'm just scanning, and that's worked somewhat quite well. And it's not on my list, but it's something I will mention. I'm not sure about whether it does any damage to your eyes, actually. Whether it does or not, I'm not sure. I did try to do a little bit of research on that last night just out of curiosity. Couldn't find anything, but something to keep in mind. You can dim the brightness inside the scope, so you're not just pounded by this bright light when it's really dark outside, but something to keep in mind. Apart from that, the only other information I really have is what ammo I'm using at the moment, which is Buffalo River, the 55 grain Sierra Game Kings with the 80i brass, and this thing's shooting them pretty damn good. I've had a couple of shots touching at 100 yards when I sighted it in. Can't complain with that. I'm probably not going to do any videos on sighting or anything like that. There's already a lot of videos online basically with instructions about how to do that, but the best tip I can quickly give for anyone that's going to get one of these is to heat up quite a large washer. I just have a little gas cooker in the back of my car. I just had a bit of tie wire, heat up the washer, hung it on a bit of board, and just shot at that. So would walk back 100, 200 yards, and you could clearly see the washer that you're shooting at, and then either move your crosshairs, or there is a freeze function where you can, I'm not 100% sure on the specifics, I didn't use the freeze function, but basically shoot at it, freeze it, and then you move the reticle to the point of impact. That's basically the idea behind it. Other than that, I think that's about it. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below or message me on Instagram or Facebook. Cheers.